All right, everyone. I'm here with Esther. Esther is, I couldn't say a student of mine because we had study hall. Um, but some of the conversations in there um, was what helped me through the pandemic and very lively discussions. Some
Yeah,
things were out of pocket, other things were about just admiring art. Um, and just giving each other encouragement. And I remember giving her a hard time, like, hey, do a cover for my book. It's good. You need to take on commissions. This is what it's going to be like in the future. And
it's
then,
crazy. Oh, sorry.
go, go, go.
It's
Yeah.
crazy because the piece that I did or that I did, and then like I allowed or I gave it to you or like to use for
Hmm.
your poetry book.
Yeah.
That one won the Scholastic Gold. Like this is like national. Like I was called into like Carnegie Hall. Like it was like crazy. Like it was like a surreal experience. But also what I think is funnier is that the like Scholastic like the ceremony itself was so
Hmm.
like sponsored. It was like they were like reading cue cards at the back. If you like turned around, you could like see the words on the screen. It was just like what's going on, right? Yeah, anyway.
Well, I wouldn't have asked you if I didn't think, uh, not talent wise, like you were just disciplined.
Mhm.
Um, and you had a great work ethic. So I knew you could make something happen. So thank you so much for that. And that was like the greatest I told you so moment ever. You're like, Mr. Reese, I just got it's in Carnegie Hall. I'm like, bruh.
It was crazy because I think I submitted like a bunch of other stuff that year as well, and like some of them got like regional whatchamacallit, regional
Yeah,
awards, but like
yeah.
I never like imagined in my wildest dreams that that one was the one that would have like made it through and like gotten like gold national, which is like so absurd. It's just like
Why is it absurd? I commissioned it.
no. Okay, in that case, I think the stars were aligned or something.
But you know what? To be fair, all your work is awesome. Like, and actually, this is the first other people have other things going on. Is there anywhere where people can find your work?
Ooh, I'm on Instagram primarily. I'm at
Hmm.
at Disaster Zoo. I post my art there and I post just like whatever um I draw that I like.
Mm,
And hopefully other people like it as well.
yeah.
But I think it's also kind of like a way to kind of document
Hmm.
um my artistic journey because I've been on Instagram for a while.
Mm,
Or I've had my art account for a while, I think upwards of 4 or 5 years now.
yeah.
But it's like I obviously like I've archived or I've deleted like quite a few things, but
Mm,
it's like still you can like kind of see like the progression of like
hmm. Yeah.
where like I started and like where I'm at now.
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah, I'm not too active on any or I don't like post too much on any other socials as of right now. I was a active Twitter user for a while, but I didn't like the whole AI policies that were like
Yeah.
implemented onto
Yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I packed up and I left.
Okay.
But I still interact with people. I just don't post any
Yeah.
art
Yeah.
in there.
Well, definitely when the video is released, I'll have your Instagram link posted on the video description. So,
Yay.
all right. So one of the requirements for having you on is to show off shirt, favorite shirt, sweater, sweatshirt. What do you have for us?
Okay. I have oh, this is my this is a hoodie. It's just a regular standard black hoodie, but
Uh-huh.
my cousin, my Chinese cousin gave it to me and it has like um the traditional Chinese word for
Mm,
hungry.
yeah.
Ugh. And whenever I wear this around um like elders or like around like people like my parents' age, they always like make a funny comment about it. I think I think it's a little endearing.
I think it's awesome and it speaks to one of the ways into your work. Because your work is so multifaceted. I remember you sharing that short film, and I
Mhm.
shared it with all my students
Really?
in 9 honors.
Oh
Uh,
my God,
I
that's
shared it with
crazy.
my church kids and a couple of my, and that actually encouraged them, uh, one of them to actually two of them to pursue art. So we're working on
Are
that.
you serious?
And even though the church kids are Korean, their youth group members are Korean, just the way that code switching happened, and like I said, um, the relived experience of this is how you say I love you or I'm sorry. Did you eat?
Hmm.
Um, they bit into it, and that ending in the end, even though we couldn't understand, we felt that love. Um,
That
so
is so sweet. It's actually up on YouTube.
okay,
I don't know like how like I'm not like a YouTuber, so I don't know how like linking things work, but
okay,
like,
just
if you
send
want.
it, DM it to me, and I'll put it in
Okay.
the description too. Um,
Yeah.
so so that brings us into the questions. And by the way, near the end of it, we'll have about 3 or 4 existential questions. So for you to just answer. Um,
Okay.
so putting it out there for our audience, what are you passionate about and how'd you get there?
Um, well, I'm passionate about just like stories. I
Mm,
think that's the main reason why I decided to go into art school or like more specifically, I guess, animation, which is
yeah.
like by the way, I don't know if this is like gonna be like knowledge like
Hmm.
in the description, but I attend California Institute of the Arts, and I'm currently a second year in their character animation program. And that school is primarily known for their films,
Mm,
or like they have like a yearly film requirement. So like each year you attend the school, you are expected, and your curriculum is kind of um catered towards like you making a film every single year. And
wow.
um and so that's like I'm sure like if you're kind of within like if you're kind of into the whole like animation or like animated media thing, you've
Hmm.
probably seen a few like animated short films like floating around on YouTube. Some of them get like a decent amount of traction. So
Yeah.
that was just like my first exposure to that kind of storytelling. And I think the reason why like I chose or the reason why I'm more passionate about animation than say like something like film like like video camera like
Yeah.
film like you know what I'm talking about like
Yeah. Yeah.
like live action
Yeah.
stuff is I think animation like um animation's like kind of historically leans into more simpler storytelling. And I think that like that's the reason why like it's like popular among like children's like
Mm,
movies or like family oriented movies. It's because it's like simple. I don't want to say
mhm.
dumbed down because that's
No, no,
just like
no.
that's a disservice to like animation. But it's very much like it's like you there's like certain things you can do with animation because it's all like drawn or
Hmm.
it's the root of it comes from drawing and art and like um art like artists working with their hands as opposed to like a camera like shooting like film. So there's lots of like creativity within that sort of um to work around like in to work with in that world.
Yeah,
Um
100%.
yeah. I don't know if that answered the question.
No,
I
no,
went
no.
on a tangent.
It's all good. We're gonna go on tangents. We're artists.
Okay.
No, I think what you said is 100% true in regards to as a medium. Um, Actually, with the advent of photography, right, still life and then live action, whatever the camera literally gives us, um, we're being told what to see and what to
Mhm.
believe.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but with animation, what you said was on point. You get the essential elements. You get the essence of what the storyteller is giving to you. And um, I'm not gonna bore you. This is the nerd in me. So Hegel's philosophy of art is telling you all kinds of things, um, and it's a great read. I highly recommend it. And then there's another book I need to find out, but it talks about the depiction of Asian art, and so it's all about accessibility and actually this is the advent and the rise of like Eastern animation versus Western, right? You could tell Eastern animation is becoming more and more popular, especially with
Mm.
webtoons or even Pixar style becoming more Eastern. um, is the fact that with Eastern art, it's more universal, more simplified. And again, we're going back to the essence of it. Versus Western art, it's more sculpted and it's actually more
Yeah, yeah.
exclusive, right? So a lot of people, if yeah, like Superman with the chiseled jawline, um, as it becomes more defined, less people have access to it.
Yeah, I think to touch on like the whole thing of like Western art is more like structured.
Mm,
I think that's also prevalent in like the way that like Hollywood writes movies or the like what how like
mm-hmm,
what types of films do well in a Western audience. Typically, it's like a three-act structured like
mm-hmm,
beginning, middle, end with like clear like hero's journey. Like that's like always like a structured like thing, you know? But like say for example like Miyazaki films. It's
mm-hmm.
like
I was about
they're
to bring out
more
Ghibli.
they're
Yeah.
more like there's not as much of like a clear act structure and there's also like lots of like breathers,
Mm-hmm,
like room for the world and the characters within the story to breathe and not really just like not necessarily like every shot that you see in like in a Miyazaki film is going to be like servicing the plot or like advancing the plot in a certain way, but it's like it's adding depth to
mm-hmm.
the world that in which it inhabits, you know? And yeah, that's also prevalent, I think, in also French animation.
Uh,
France is also one of the biggest arbiters of animation. I think the biggest powerhouses, like in terms of
mhm.
like international, are probably France, um, China and Japan, and the US, I
Huh.
think. Those are the main ones I can think of, like have like
Yeah,
wide acclaim. I don't know if that
yeah.
made sense.
No, no, no. And so I think that's why, like, digressing because we're artists. This is like study hall. I'm getting flashbacks. Um, no, it's like, and I think that's why, especially Hollywood, like overproduces, right? Over micromanages, and so our attention span gets shorter, and we get so like um used to a certain type of film, and actually, a lot of studios don't trust that we'll be able to handle something that request more bandwidth, like Studio Ghibli, like a little
Yeah.
girl taking 5 seconds to tie her shoes, right? And that's,
Mhm.
but when people watch it, they're into it and they're engaged, trusting our audiences more. Um, all right, we'll talk about that in a bit. You're good. You're a good one. Um, how'd you get started? I mean, did you always do art contests, or I mean, did you do like, is there tutoring for art? Like how or when did you start?
So, I think art is one of those things, like, I think looking back on my life, like, my relatively short life as of right now, but like, I feel like like, the common thread has always been art, and I think that, like, it was kind of, like, I don't want to say destiny, but it was just, like, I was, like, even before, like, my parents, um, were like able to send me to art classes or like
Mm,
able to get me like guidance for art.
yeah.
I was like drawing on like the walls in our rented apartment with permanent marker. And so they got fed up with that because like they were like, why is this like why are you always a pen in hand, you know? And then like they like after that I got like they sent me to drawing classes so that I would draw on paper instead of the walls. Um and uh and that was like I think when I was like 4 or 5.
Mm,
So it has been like over a decade. It's generally been over a decade.
yeah.
But I started out tr doing art traditionally,
Mm,
which is honestly I recommend like beginner artists to start out traditionally, even though like because like I feel like like learning, you have to have like training wheels, you know?
Mm, yeah.
And traditional is very much like training wheels. Like you're limited with what you can do with like traditional medium, but it's like you learn like the basics the best. Like the basics of like rendering like shadow, core shadow, reflective light, and like the basics of form and shape and color, like all of that you learn. Like I learned that all like traditionally, and then um I got my first like taste of like digital art
Mm-hmm.
around like fifth grade, I want to
Mm.
say. Like, because I got an iPad, or my parents had like a family iPad, and my dad downloaded Procreate on the family iPad. And Procreate's awesome. But it was very much like back then, it was very much like a fledgling app that just like
Uh,
launched. And so I kind of grew up with Procreate, or like the adolescent years of my life were like me like trying things out and Procreate that I did traditional. But there is
mm,
very much like a learning curve, I think.
yeah.
Um, it's like it's like there was like this, you know how like when you go through puberty and it's like you have like the awkward teenage phase with like the side part and like the hormonal acne and like sometimes like the blue eyeliner or whatever. It's like when you switch over to from traditional to digital at the very start, it is very much like puberty. It's like it's very awkward. Like it doesn't look right and you're like,
Mm,
why can I
mm,
do this traditionally but not digitally, you know? But I think like once that smooths out, for me that started smoothing out at around like middle school. And then entering high school, I think I had a good idea that I wanted to do art um in like some art related field in the future.
mm.
I had like I've picked up like various like hobbies or various like after school activities. Like I did soccer, I did like swimming, basketball, like
Wow.
volleyball. Like I've tried like a lot of things. And I think the only like um thing that has stuck with me through like moving schools and like shifting like
Yeah.
hobbies or shifting interests has been art.
Mm,
So I really do think that like it was kind of for me, it was kind of
yeah.
like destined, or
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right word, but
Yeah.
like that's the closest thing I can say
Yeah.
to what it is. And also I came into high school like obviously I like just said this, but I came into high school knowing that I would probably end up doing something art adjacent.
Yeah.
I think I was like my parents were still like trying to get me to like do like industrial design or like architecture or something to like pay the bills.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Or I don't want to use that word because I feel like it's just like the art that I'm doing now, like you can still pay bills. It's just a matter of like risk.
Yeah.
Because I think um when you like freelancing or like working in entertainment is obviously bound to be more risky than say like a job at a architecture firm with
Yeah.
like, you know, like steady employment. Within animation or when within entertainment, it very much is a project to project hiring basis.
Yeah.
Um, but the thing is that if you're good enough and if you are like, I don't want to say marketable enough, but if you're like
Mm-hmm.
appealing, like if your art is appealing enough
Yeah. Yeah.
and you have the skill, you're not going to be like you're not going to be lacking of a
Yeah.
job,
Yeah. Yeah. For
you know?
sure.
So it's just like it's just a matter of like some avenues of art are riskier,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like if you like discipline yourself to get
Mm-hmm.
super uber duper good, then you're always going to be in demand
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you are that super uber duper good,
Yeah.
you know,
Because
if you want it that badly.
yeah, if you know your audience and the business knows whether you can engage your audience or the audience engages with your work. You know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know what I was gonna say, but I I like oh, during quarantine, I think that
Mm.
was when I made like the full commitment to
Uh,
do like animation. Um partially because I think during quarantine was the period of time in which my art account started getting a little bit of traction
Yeah.
online, mainly because I was kind of in like the online like fandom space, but also because like I like was drawing literally all day every day because there was nothing else to do. Like no one was like school was like pretty much pass fail. It was like you show
Yeah.
up, you get credit. But it was
Yeah.
just like during that period of time, I honestly don't think that like if like COVID didn't happen, I feel like I probably wouldn't be where I am right now, like in terms
Yeah.
of skill, just because it
Yeah.
takes a lot of time, and COVID like provided me
hmm
that time, to get good or not get good, but to get better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd you do that? You like read into my next question because it was going to be what's a pivotal moment in your life that shaped who you are. I was about to lead in and just try to transition because I was listening actively. I'm
I
like, dude,
transitioned for you.
you did. You can't do that. I was going to say besides permanent marker Esther, right?
Mhm.
Before your little aha moment with your iPad. Um, but you know what's really cool is you have an experience with some of different sports before too. Does that help you with dealing with mechanics and weight in animation? No?
Mm, I don't I don't think it works that way. I think that
Huh.
like I just like had like a lot of like things like extracurriculars I did like after school, like for like the greater part of my elementary school and like
Mm,
middle school years. So like it was just like that art was like the only thing that I kept
huh.
gravitating back towards to back towards.
Uh-huh.
So it's just like I think I like would realize that like this is like I keep gravitating back towards this, and also I'm
Mm,
like not too bad at it. I think
yeah.
I like to think that I'm okay at it. And I think that this is probably how I would make the biggest impact
Mm.
in like the world as a whole. I don't
Oh.
want that
No,
sounds
no, no. Oh,
funny.
actually what I meant was actually the sports that you did early on in life. Does
Mhm.
that inform any of your work now in terms of movement when you create movement in your animation? Like making because I worked
Uh,
for animation
mhm.
studio before, and so whenever we told our animators, a you have to go out and try these things, right, and record
Mm,
yourself too. I was just wondering. I was just curious.
mm. I think maybe subconsciously, but it's not like an active thing I think about like, oh,
hmm
like when I hit the tennis ball, it's like the momentum and the follow through. It's like I don't think um maybe it does, but I don't think for me personally like my experience with like sports or like doing physical activity like informs my art. I think it's just that like with art, it's a matter of observation. So it's like
Mm,
if you're good at observing like changes in weight, changes in or like how weight shifts from like when you move around or like how weight shifts around when you're doing something that like informs how like well you draw or how well you execute like or
mm,
how like your draw how well your drawing reads.
mm,
um I don't know if like doing the motion yourself has a hand in that. I think it might a little bit,
mm,
but it's not like a huge part
mm.
of it, I think. I don't know.
How do you how do you solve problems when you run into issues and problems? How do you solve them, and how do you determine um, if something is true?
Um, I think that just comes down to like experimentation because I like like grew up on like art social media, and so I think the way for the longest time the way that I drew kind of emulated the artists that I like was like inspired by. But I think
Mm,
at a certain point in like your artistic journey or in your artistic career, it's like you can't keep trying to copy other people because it's just like well, also like for like practical reasons, it's like if you if all your art is a copy of another artist,
Mm,
that's not doing you any good. Like, because like for like studios or like for recruiters who are hiring, they're just
yeah,
gonna hire the artist that like draws like the way that like you
yeah,
emulate. Like, they're just gonna hire the person like that you copy because it's like they're the original person
yeah.
and like you're only the copy, right? So like you have to like find ways um to be original,
Mm,
and the way to do that, or the way like that that's done, is by experimentation. So you try exaggerating different forms in different
mm,
ways, and you try different ways of coloring, different ways of rendering, different like things that trying to lean back into like your roots. Um, for example, when I did traditional a lot,
hmm,
as a kid, I would like I my whole thing was like cross hatching, or like hatching like with like really like organized pencil marks or pen marks or
mm,
whatever, and I started incorporating that into my work as of late. And I think that's like not a thing that like a lot of people do per se. So I think that is like just like yeah, finding like experimenting and finding new ways to stand out among like the greater uh the greater crowd of artists. That's like one like major, I think, problem that I've overcome like in
hmm.
recent years. Um, yeah. I think yeah, it's just like mainly like for problems, when you encounter a problem, it is very much just like throwing things at the wall, seeing what sticks.
Hmm.
I think that's the case for like
Yeah,
a lot of other artistic um mediums as well. Like I assume that's also the case for writing,
yeah.
and um yeah.
It's all trial and error. But and I think that's the issue with copying though too, because copying is just risk aversion,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
never going to figure out your own voice, right?
Mhm.
With that being said, what does the future of art or animation look like, especially with the advent of AI? And we know people lifting each other's work
Mhm.
on the internet too.
Yeah, yeah. See, I knew you would ask that question. I was like thinking, like I was walking my dog earlier.
Can
earlier
you get out
afternoon.
of look? You can't see my script. How are you doing this?
Okay, no, but this is just like a hot topic that like
Mm,
is unavoidable when you talk about art, when you talk about the
mm,
like process of creation, because it's like it's so like prevalent now,
yeah.
especially with ChatGPT and Midjourney and like
Mm,
Dolly and like all like the prompting like AI like thing where you like put in the prompt and you get the result.
yeah.
Um, it's crazy because I knew you were gonna ask this question. When I was walking my dog earlier this afternoon, I was like, you know what? I think Mr. Reese is gonna ask about AI because I think that's just like that's something he would ask about. So yeah, it's just like I the way I view AI in terms of like um art or like relating to art is that, or just AI in general, is that like it is beneficial when it is used to streamline tedious tasks or like hard like annoying like menial
Hmm.
like things that like you nobody wants to do. It's like in like machine learning AI, like if it's used for that purpose and it serves that purpose within like a pipeline or within like an artist's workflow, I think that like that's good, and I think that's like how it should be used. However, however, what's happened is that um AI is now like kind of trying to replace artists. Um, and it's just kind of like that, like obviously like that I don't agree with that. And I
Yeah.
think that like nobody in their right mind should agree with that because it's like artists who do art, or like who genuinely love their craft and do art for that reason,
Yeah.
do art because it's like they love the process of doing it. They love taking the idea from start and then working on it, working on it, working on it all the way until the finished product, and then they show the finished product to people, and people respond emotionally to the art that they produce. However, people who like prompt or AI prompters, I guess. I don't want to say AI artists because I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's giving it too much
Mm-hmm.
credit.
Mm-hmm.
AI
Yeah.
prompters like the idea part. They're the idea guy, but they don't like the actual process of making.
Yeah.
They just want to throw the ideas into the machine, hit a button, and have something and
Yeah.
be like, I made this. I
Mm.
made this with my own, like, whatever. And it's like, I see AI art as very much a thing of like, or like, I think arguments in favor of AI art are like usually along the lines of, oh, well, like AI art, like now, like, um, makes it so that everyone can make art. And so that like it's like democratizing art. But it's like, is art something that needs to be democratized? Like, ask me, like, riddle me this. Like, what happened to pen and paper? You can pick up a pencil, you can draw on paper, you can get started. Like, art is not something that needs to be democratized. And I think that in terms of like, this is like a greater issue of
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
technology versus art. And it's like, I think technology often tries to streamline processes that should not be
Mm-hmm.
streamlined or don't need to be streamlined. Um, and art, like, it's just very much like a thing of like people who make AI, like, who, um, who li like using AI or who want to use AI or like they didn't take an ethics course in college. Like, they just like, they snoozed in all the ethics lectures. They didn't care about learning humanities, and this is what happens, you know? Like, yeah, it's just like also art is like I think an intrinsically human behavior.
Mm.
Because we don't have relics or we don't have recollections of like early history, early human history,
Mm-hmm.
but we
Yeah.
have like even before like written language, you know, but we
Mm-hmm.
have
Yeah.
art, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so art has always been an intrinsically human thing. So like once you take humans out of the equation, you have made slop. You've made garbage. Like that's just what it is. Like, and it's also like a shitty, like, sorry, am I allowed to swear?
You're good. I think you'll be fine.
Okay,
I don't think YouTube was gonna flag me about
okay.
that one.
It's also like a poopy thing to do, like especially with like I think I don't know
Yeah.
like if you're on Twitter, but like recently, as of late, there's been like a
Mm.
tweet circulating around of someone finishing Keith Haring's unfinished painting, which is the last painting that he made before he succumbed to AIDS. And it's titled unfinished painting, but it is finished. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
re
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it before, but it's
Mm-mm.
like when you look at it, it's supposed to give you like an intense like it's a really intense piece because like he knew that he was dying and he knew
Mm.
there was like the whole like AIDS crisis, like the
Yeah.
government wasn't doing anything. It's just like it's like one of the most like I think emotional pieces of art within
Mm.
modern art history. And somebody was like, I finished this piece. Like I finished it for him. And it was like the rest of it like kind of replicated the geometry of the lines that he used, but like the human forms like within the piece were like all like misformed and like
Mm.
incorrectly shaped. And it was just like gross, like so
Yeah.
gross, like disgusting, genuinely. And also something similar happened when Kim Jung-gi, the famous
Kim Jong-gi.
Korean art, yeah,
Yo. Yeah. Yeah.
when he passed away, I think was it a year or two ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody fed his art into the AI and was like, I replicated Kim Jong-gi's style. And it was just like he just died. What are you doing? Like it was just like I feel like it's just so like crazy. Like, why are you doing that? Like, what purpose does that serve? Like, you're
Oh.
not like adding anything new into the equation. You're just like feeding um
Oh.
somebody who cannot defend themselves, like an
Yeah.
artist who cannot
And you're
defend themselves.
perverting their work.
And yeah, you're
Yeah.
perverting their work and you're perverting their legacy and you're gross and you should reevaluate your life decisions and take an ethics course, maybe.
Hold on real quick. Let me this is a cover that Kim Jong-un did. It's the
Oh,
rarest comic cover.
whoa, it's like in the sleeve. You like haven't
Oh no,
taken
no,
it
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah. And this is probably my favorite Kim Jong-un. I have actually, so that's what I did in mourning and grieving
Mhm,
Kim Jong-un. Um, I set out a mission to collect every single comic that he's ever done a cover for.
mhm,
And I accomplished that. And this was the hardest one to get, and I got two of them. I shouldn't have been so greedy. But um and there's something that you said about art and how that existed before writing in terms of, it's in all of us in terms of expressing ourselves. So Kim Jong-il was in the special forces, not just a regular military, but obviously the PTSD got to him. And
mhm,
so this is his way of venting, right? Um
mhm.
this is his outlet, and he just wanted to see people free. So other than that cover, if you look at all his work, gravity is always involved, right?
Mhm.
Because as human beings, we ought to be moving toward forward something, and we're not falling down, we're actually falling up. So try looking at his work through that lens. But I'm glad you know Kim Jong-un. He's my favorite. Did you see that video of Miyazaki criticizing like these Japanese computer scientists were really proud that made these AI creatures and they're like
Yeah, yeah, I saw
wobbling?
that. I saw that. He was like,
Bro,
this is like a perversion of art.
dude, the cringe on his face was like, and they were like, "Aren't you proud of us?" They're like, "No."
Yeah, it's just like I think like a lot of like the conversation around AI is like you're not stopping to think and ask yourself whether or not you should do something.
Mm,
You're just doing it, and nobody likes you for that.
yeah. In regards to where you're at right now, I don't like using this word failure. Let's say stumbling blocks. Whenever you've encountered a stumbling block or even a slump, how do you handle that?
Um, I think the biggest like slumps that I've had are probably like right immediately like in the months following my first year of college.
Mm,
Um, which is I think like kind of natural because like if you're doing art 24/7, like basically for the entire school year, you're bound to like get sick of it. And so I think the only way to get over that, at least for me, is to not do art for in a
mm,
lot of the period of time. For me, that was like 3 weeks. Right after school ended, I just didn't do any art at all.
mm,
And I just like lived my life and did not touch a pencil, did not touch my iPad for like 3 weeks. And then I got back into it. And I think that like one word of advice that I've that my character design teacher this year, his name is Danny Hines, and
mhm,
he was a main character designer on Steven Universe. And he was like he one of the best words of advice that he gave us as a class was that you can't be expected like you can't expect yourself as an artist to constantly be outputting art
mm,
if you don't live a life, you
mm,
know? If you don't have like life to observe from and life to draw inspiration from, you have nothing,
mhm,
like you don't have any input to make creative output.
mm,
So like when you are in a dry spell, you need time to have more like accumulate more creative input so you have output, you know? And also just like giving like your hands a rest is like a good thing. I think
mm.
every once in a while, like when you're on holiday break and when you're on summer break, it's like you need like at least a short period of time to just like not do anything with your hands because your hands are always in motion for like
Yeah.
the
Uh,
entire rest of the year. So it's just like be kind to yourself, you know?
I think that's yeah, I think that's there's not enough awareness for that. Health and artists sitting down for long periods of time, and for
Yeah.
yeah, for
Yeah, yeah.
artists, yeah, people get gloves if you need gloves.
Also, My one of my teachers last year, who taught it was for like a digital methods class, which is like
Mm,
basically the teacher like teaches you how to use all the conceivable um digital applications that you could possibly use for your film, like all like the 3D, like the Maya,
yeah.
Photoshop, animation programs, like everything. Like we learned that like everything, or at least like a little brief
Hmm.
intro to
Like a
everything in that
survey.
class.
Yeah.
And like it was like each class he would like start it off and be like, guys, let's do a stretch. And then so everyone would like get up from their from their chairs and like do like a little stretch. And I think yeah, it's just like you need to like if you like you can't beat yourself up for not
Mm,
making art because you need to um be kind to yourself because I think like you make good art when you are feeling good.
yeah.
So you should take more opportunities to make yourself feel good, and
Yeah.
that usually is like, you know, not going to sleep at like 5 in the morning, and like just, being a normal person and not being crazy. I last year my film, like my first year film,
Mm,
is like was one of like I think the most like I learned so much from that experience. The film isn't out or it's not public because I'm not happy with it, or
yeah.
I like really hated it when I finished it.
Mm,
But
but
it was like a combination of like setting like really unattainable standards for myself because I had never animated before coming to
hmm.
college.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so like I think I had like this expectation that it was going to be like the greatest, like not the greatest, but like a
It's
really like exemplary work of like my best stuff. And like it was
yeah.
going to be like super fluid and like whatever, whatnot. But it's like a mix of like it was like a mix of setting these insane expectations for myself and then also get sleeping like 4 or 5 hours every single night and like mostly like sleeping during the day. Like I would go to the labs, like go to the computer lab at like 11 in the morning, and then I would stay there until like 6 in the morning, and then I would go to sleep and then wake up, do it all over again. So I was practically nocturnal for like a while.
Wow.
But it was like I think I really did like hit like a physical limit, like my body hit a physical
Yeah,
limit
yeah.
towards the end. And the thing is that when you're sleep deprived and when you are making art that is kind of not the best or like
Mhm.
not your best like art, you literally want to die. Like you want to end it all. So it's just like it was just like a combination of those things, and I like the film isn't out and for that reason. But it's like I learned so much from doing
Mhm.
that, and I think that like um this like my film this year is I'm like approaching it with like a lot more of that in mind because now I know how fast I work. Now I know what I'm good at. Now I know what like what things to allocate more time for and what things I can do like really, really quickly. And now I know that I need to sleep in order to be normal about art.
Function. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
it's an
yeah.
important benchmark, right? Because other than that, it was all abstract, right? We have so many things, especially in art, like on a pedestal, and we don't understand the muscle behind it. And that's why I say art as a craft, right? People think art is magic. Art is a craft.
Mm,
It takes discipline.
yeah.
And I think you mentioned getting space away. And I think that's really healthy because well, it's difficult because with art, um, we're presenting this object to the world, but yet it comes from a personal space, right? Like
Mm.
our own perception or perspective of the world. And if no one else gets it, it's so personal.
Yeah.
um, and but I think when you get that step away, and I mean, this comes with maturity and time too. Um, and you'll start to see things as, you know what, this is just an exercise, but it's hard, right? Because it's you.
Yeah.
It's literally you, and that ego is involved.
Mm.
Um, but and going back to the other thing about getting a break and having life, in terms of inspiration, I think I want to talk to you about this after we record. Um,
Okay.
is for art, for writers, we say write what you know. I mean, if you can write what you imagine, that's completely fine as long as it's concrete. If there's some tangible experience with reality, because someone else has to be able to receive that too.
Mm.
But a number of times you go blank, it's because you can't produce it. It just doesn't get manifested because it's abstract. It doesn't exist, but you find objects in reality that you can reproduce, right? And that can contain that meaning. But you need to go out and experience life.
Yep.
And you need sleep.
Yep. Yep.
But that comes in time, Esther. But you're glad. I'm not saying you're glad how you got there, but you're glad you passed that benchmark, though. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I'm very glad.
You know what? I don't know how you do this. So you jumped ahead. Like literally you're going in row of the question. I was gonna say, what piece of advice would you give to someone starting off in your field? You covered so much. Um, is there anything?
Mm, I don't know if there's anything that I haven't touched upon yet.
Would you recommend doing just like in your class you're talking about you had like basically a survey of all these different programs? How about a survey of different styles of art, like charcoal, pen and paper, not just digital, permanent
Mm.
marker on your apartment
Permanent
walls,
marker. Um, like which is more most conducive
or
to
what would you give in terms of advice for someone just starting out?
uh well, that is a very broad question.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing with starting out is that like typically I think art or like drawing at least is
Mm,
something that you do when you're like a kid and it's just like a summer camp type of thing. And um like most people's experiences with art are like little kiddie daycare and like elementary school like activities after lunch, you know? But it's like it's rare for that interest to keep like accruing
mm,
and growing into adulthood. That was another thing that one of I think one of my art teachers told me, not at Valley, but like outside of Valley,
mm-hmm.
and also not at college. It was this was like before, it was sometime around high school. I don't remember when, but like there's like doing art and like pursuing art in adult life is so incredibly rare.
Mm,
And the fact that you choose to do it itself is like a testament to like
yep.
how like committed you are to uh art, I guess, or how commit like
Mm-hmm.
how much you love doing it.
Yeah.
And so I think um this is corny, but like very like for people just like teenagers, I assume,
Mm-hmm.
just starting out or
Yeah.
like younger people just starting out, it very much is a thing of just like keep persevering.
Yeah.
Because if you love it that much and if you want it bad enough,
Mm-hmm.
like it will like become like a thing that you're known for
Yeah.
when you um when you're older. Because I think like even like throughout like elementary slash middle school, I was always like that kid who sat in like the back of the class and like drew. But it just gets rarer and rarer,
Mm,
the older you get. So just keep at it.
yeah. Yeah. Being an artist is an exclusive club. It really is. Um,
It's ex okay. It's like you watched Ratatouille?
a
You
long
know?
time ago.
Okay.
I'm dating myself. I saw it in theaters.
Oh, okay.
Wow, that ooh kind of hurt. All right,
No, but
give
like,
us the context, please.
um, okay. So the reason why I brought up Ratatouille is that like it's one of my favorite films, but it's also like one of the like messages about the film is that like the rat is the guy, like the mastermind, like behind
Hmm.
Linguini, who's like he's like controlling his like little hairs, and it's he's like he's the puppet, the puppeteer
Yeah.
behind the art in the film, which is like cooking. And but he's like a rat. Like he's not a human, he's a rat, you know? Um and one of the main themes from the film is that great art,
Mm,
not everyone can do great art, but great artists can come from anywhere.
mm,
And I think that that is also like that's like very applicable to real life because like not everyone has the discipline, not everyone wants it bad enough, or like not everyone like is not everyone loves it as much as like not everyone loves it enough to like
do it.
do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyone can potentially like love it enough to do it.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't know
no,
if that
no,
was like
no,
very
that's 100%. That's 100%. Um, Now going back to this thing with sleep, um,
Mhm.
how do you balance your studies and your personal life, your work and your personal life?
Well, I would recommend that you like for potential students, I assume like seniors
Mm,
who are into art and are good at it, I would say don't take on more freelance work than you need to when you are in college.
mm,
Because like if you're not if like worry like about doing the school thing and doing it well and like doing like making a good portfolio slash resume or whatever. And you can take on like either pick one or the other, you know? It's just like if you can't like spread you can't possibly do it all
yeah.
and you are going to be stretched too thin. So you need to know where your limits are. For my first year, I took on a freelance job. It wasn't like anything crazy, but it was
Hmm.
just like I think the mixture of like being in a school environment for the first like in a college environment for the first time
Yeah.
and also like um living on your own and like taking care of yourself and also like working like a big boy job
Yeah.
is like that like manage like don't put too much on your plate and it's
Yeah.
like sorry, I don't know, I forgot what the question was. I just wanted to
Balancing work. No, that's all good.
Oh,
Balancing
okay.
work and personal life. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just like knowing when to say no and like knowing that like you have to pick more or less pick one thing.
Mm,
Like either you turn in all your assignments and you are like a star student, or you like um you work like jobs and school is like a side thing.
yeah.
You have to just like pick where your priorities are. And for different people it is like different. Like people like my classmates, like some of them have chosen one thing or the other and it's
Hmm.
like both respectable
Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, English major here, but it doesn't have to deal with a book that is in the literature category. What's a book that has significantly influenced you?
Um, I think the most recent book I've read is The Dark Forest, which is part of a trilogy of books called The Three Body Problem.
Mm,
And it is a science fiction series, kind of like as a kind of like that address the um Fermi paradox or like provides a potential answer to it. And it's like the theory goes or sorry, this is like so like removed from like the conversation we just had, but
No
it's like
disclaimer. Go.
the most like it's just the most recent book series that I've read, and so I feel like it's like informed the way that like I don't know if it's informed the way that I make art, but it's just that
Hmm.
like it's kind of changed like maybe my outlook on the world.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like okay, so the Fermi paradox is like the question of whether or not intelligent life exists outside of Earth. And one like proposal is that either humans are the most
Mm,
advanced like civilization that in the universe, and that's the reason why nobody we haven't heard anything from anybody else, or there is some wall like blocking like in front of us that we haven't
wow.
reached yet, but we're coming towards it, and um all the other like civilizations that like were more advanced
Hmm.
or that existed before us and reached this point of civilization before us were wiped out by the wall. Or
Mm,
like yeah, I think that's like that's what it is. And one of the what the like the I'm trying to speak words. The like solution that the three body tr problem trilogy proposes um is that the universe is like a dark forest.
mm,
And so everyone, all of, like the other civilizations that exist in the universe know to hide.
uh,
Know to hide because if you put yourself out there, you will get eaten.
mm,
And humans are the ones like we are broadcasting signals into space. And so we don't know that we exist in a dark forest, but we are like, what if we are soon to find out that we do? It's really like it's like I think a very like it's a very cerebral read for me at least because I don't
hmm.
really read sci-fi. It was
Yeah.
just like I got into it because one of my friends from high school, I don't know if you know him, Neil,
Mm-mm,
he's
no.
in the grade above me. Anyway, but
Yeah.
shout out to Neil because Neil got me into that series and I was like kind of bored over the summer, so I started reading it and I was like, okay, this is crazy. Like this is wild, like what's going on. So yeah. Thanks for that, Neil, but here we are now. I have to read the third book, but yeah.
Why'd you bring that up? You're first and foremost, there's a problem with you being a great storyteller. I don't know if I can go to sleep now.
No.
Bro, you're gonna give me an insomnia. Um, how do you define success? Like when do you know enough is enough and you can and I say work is never completed, it's only abandoned. How do you know to stop working on a project?
Um, well, I stopped working on a project when I'm either sick of looking at it or when I've hit like a point in like the rendering slash coloring part where it's just like, okay, if I add any more lines, this will look crazy. So I stop. Yeah. But that yeah, that's also like a thing of like experiment that like ties into like the whole like experimenting like
Mm,
thing that I was talking about earlier. It's like sometimes you have to go like if you think sometimes you might think you're done, but like if you're trying to experiment with like unique styles or ways to change things up, it's like sometimes you might need to like
mm,
stay a little bit longer
yeah,
and
yeah.
work a little bit of overtime to like um just see how far you can push things. Um, but it's like as a general rule, when it's like a standard like piece that I'm doing for like
Mm.
whatever, and it's like if I keep using the blur brush and keep trying to airbrush his face, like it will look muddy. Like that's when it's enough. You know, that's when you should stop.
Um, we talked about this before with AI and people stealing work. What's your take on the ethical implications of art? Are there
Mm,
are there more people cheating and copying, and are there more rules being broken that we don't know of?
The ethical implications, or do you mean like when artists get like inspired by other artists and so they try to emulate that,
Sure,
or
you could talk about that too. Yeah.
I think mm, I think the thing with like copying or like referencing other people's art is that it's really prevalent in beginner artists,
Hmm.
and that's how everyone does the art. Like
Yeah.
you learn from copying, and like you learn how other artists like study structure or
Mm,
how they think about like form and shape and volume and all that fun jazz. You study how they do art or
mm,
they how they do that stuff, and that's how you learn to do that stuff. But once you get to a certain point, it is important to break away from that. Um, because it's like you're relying on like if you study like say like if you study Kim Jung-gi,
hmm.
and you study him for years and years and years and years, and you eventually become just like him. It's like, well, he already exists, and all you
Yeah.
are is a
Yeah.
like you can get really, really good at replicating
Yeah.
him. And like obviously like there's skill involved in that. Like I'm not
Yeah.
discrediting like the fact that like um
Yeah. Just imitating. Yeah. Especially.
imitation
Yeah.
takes skill,
Yeah.
but it's like beyond that, what else do you have to offer as an
Yeah.
artist
Yeah.
in the
There.
greater like art conversation, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I will say though that like it's kind of a complicated answer because I think that like there's kind of like I don't know how to say this, but like for like I'm sure you know this, but like
Mm,
or you've noticed, but like Disney films
mm,
or Pixar films have a certain style.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think Disney is more so like the culprit of this, but it's like a lot of their films, their main protagonists look very similar to each other.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it's like if you plopped one out of their movie and
Yeah.
dropped one
Mm-hmm.
in the other,
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't be able to tell that they were in the wrong movie
Yeah.
because the visual language is so similar. So I think like for like corporations like Disney,
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
a thing of like this does well in the box office, and so every like all the design decisions that we make like that inform the making
Yep.
of this movie will be tailored to the thing that makes us bank.
Yeah.
And that's not the artist's fault because
No.
like
Yeah.
all like the artists who work on like films and movies, like none of them are they all like have their own unique voice and they all try to bring their own like
Yeah.
unique twist to it. But I think a lot of like the uniqueness is lost when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to the upper management.
Yeah.
And this is also very prevalent in their most recent movie, Wish,
Hmm.
which is their, I believe, their 100th anniversary movie that is
Okay.
supposed to be a culmination, a celebration of like their 100 years of filmmaking, but it is genuinely one of the worst movies I've ever watched.
Hmm.
Sorry to all the Wish fans out there, but
Hmm.
genuinely, um, it's not a good movie because I
Yeah.
think that all the choices that they made, like regarding like not just art, but like also like songwriting and
Mm-hmm.
also like writing and also like but like also like art.
Yeah.
All the decisions that they made for this movie, they went with the blandest, boringest, least interesting option. And the end movie as a result
Yeah.
suffers because
Was
of that.
bland. Yeah. It was safe. Or what they
Safe.
thought, what they think is safe.
Yeah. And what's crazier is I've heard through the grapevine that
Mm,
like the um the executives Disney execs were like super proud of this movie. They were like, this movie's gonna do super well. Like it's like exactly what the Disney brand is. But
mm,
it's like it's doing so bad at the box office right
yeah.
now. It's like flopping so hard because like it's yeah, it's just a huge disappointment. Like
Yeah.
why did like all that like for your 100th anniversary movie and it was bad.
Yeah, they're so disengaged from you can't even just say the people, the art in itself,
Yeah.
you know?
It's just also like I've had this conversation with so many people at art school because
Mm,
they gave us an early screening of the movie.
mm,
I think a day or two before it released to the public theaters. And it was, I feel like generally, like when our school screens movies or animated movies for our major, they're generally really fun events
mm.
because we get like a live crowd reaction and
Yeah,
everyone's like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
funny. And we watched Puss in Boots Last Wish
Mhm.
as as like a class, not a class, as like a school kind of.
Okay.
And it was like first off, that movie is so good. Like it's one
Hmm.
of it's deserving of like theater sit down. Like you should watch it on
Oh,
the big
wow.
screen. Um, but it's like that movie was like 100 times better because of sitting with the CalArts
Yeah,
audience.
yeah, yeah.
This movie, I sat down with the CalArts audience, and it was a bad movie. It was objectively the worst movie I've ever watched in recent years. But I don't think I would have watched that movie on my own. I
Mhm.
would have
Yeah,
left. The only reason why I watched the entire movie was because I was with CalArtians.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't we went I went on a huge tangent. I like deviated from
No, that's completely fine. You need the vent. You need the vent.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm listening. I'm listening. So with that, actually, when you see, um, that's not the entirety of the industry, but when you see a big studio do that, how do you stay motivated and focused to keep going forward?
Mm, it's like the I think that like artists like who work under the studios or who work like everyone like all the artists who work within entertainment are all like of a mutual like consensus that that the corporation is bad and what they believe is outdated or like what they think does well or what they think sells
Mm,
is outdated and they're in need of new management desperately. And so like within the art world, we don't really like when you say you worked on XYZ movie and like Z movie was like a bomb, like it was like
mhm,
so bad. Like no one liked it. It was so unfunny. But like pe art people don't really like measure it in whether or not the movie was bad because like we all have like a common consensus that like you like your contribution to the movie didn't make the movie bad
yeah.
because
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
like the reason why it was bad is because people like who are on like the chain who are higher up the chain than you have made bad decisions and therefore like the movie as a result has suffered because of it, but it's not like the work that you did for it
Mm,
was bad, you know? So it's just like within the art sphere, it's like we don't judge based on
mm, mm, yeah,
like, you know, how good or how bad like
yeah,
the movie was or how good or how bad like the thing you worked on was because we all kind of understand
yeah,
more or less that like it's not your fault that it was bad.
yeah.
And I think that's like one thing that like keeps or like that not really motivates me, but like doesn't like makes it so that I don't like feel crazy whenever it's like a bad movie comes out and like artists who work really hard on the movie like show their art because everyone's like super supportive of the
Mhm.
artists, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like the
yeah.
corporation is to blame.
So speaking of misconceptions, for the status quo, what's the misconception people had about you in high school?
I don't know if people had any misconceptions about me because I was quiet. Or I don't I was just like I didn't really care enough to talk to everyone. I think I only talk to people that
Mm,
um like would benefit me or would do me good
yeah,
to
yeah, 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 yeah.
um be on good terms with. Um that sounds like really manipulative when I say it, but it's just like I think at a certain point in high school, it's like you aren't going to see these people past high school and they're not going to affect your future
Mm,
too much, especially if you you know, leave town.
yeah.
So it's just like mm, I think probably the biggest misconception people probably had about me was that I'm like quiet
Mm.
or like shy because I don't think I'm either of those things
No,
really.
definitely not. In study hall, you were not. I was
I
like,
think, I think it's just like you need like to be in an environment where people understand you and are on your
yeah, yeah,
wavelength.
yeah, for sure.
And for some people that scope of people is
Mm,
broader, so that's
hmm
why they're more extroverted, but like
hmm yeah,
um or that's why they're perceived as more extroverted. But like when I'm with a group of people who are like my ride or dies or like my who who I love, then it's like I'm the most extroverted person.
100%. How have you been handling criticism or disagreement? Have you had a disagreement during a group project during your college years so far?
Um, I don't want to say like disagreements
Hmm
per se.
Yeah.
I think more so when you're in art school, you get critique, and
Mm,
that's just like you signed up for critique, so you shouldn't be surprised that you get critique. But like, it's just like um, the good critiquers will give you like what you like a list of things you should, or like not a list, but like will list out what you should fix, and you can take or leave that. And but oftentimes like teachers who give good critique have good points, so you should take their advice. But it's like it's never personal. Like
yeah.
I think like a lot of like learning to accept critique or like receiving criticism is that it's never personal. And it seems personal a lot of the time because it's like you made the art and art is kind of an extension of you and your interests and your personality and like everything about you. And so it's easy to take it personally that way. But like when you receive notes on like a thing you turn in at work, and your art director is like like maybe not this, but
Mm,
like try this. It's like they don't have it out for you. It's not like a personal thing. It's just that they have a goal and they know that you have the capability to reach that goal. So it's just them telling you like them trying to guide you that way. So yeah. Um Number one thing about critique is that it's never personal.
mm.
That's it.
What's an idea or concept that excites you about the art industry right now?
Mm, I would say I really like fact that there are a lot more like art and also like animation is very becoming very accessible.
That's true. That is
It's
true. Yeah.
so much more accessible than it was in say like the 70s, the 80s. 'Cause first off, you have iPads and also like most people have iPads or not most people, but like people who
Yeah,
do have
yeah, yeah,
iPads,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
you can download art software, you can learn how to make art and like also you can learn how to make animations really like you can like self-teach like teach yourself how to do that. Procreate recently released this program called Procreate Dreams, which is like an kind of like an extension of their main drawing software, but it's geared specifically towards animation or animators. Right now, it's kind of like in its fledgling phase. Like it's like not it doesn't have all the like the features that I would consider a good animation program needs, but that's like a whole like I won't get into that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's like if you want to learn, it is more like it is easier to learn now than it has ever been. And every passing day it gets easier and easier. And if you take a look at like animation history, if you take take a look at entertainment history as a whole, most of like the films, um, earlier films or earlier Hollywood was dominated by primarily white men.
Mm, yeah.
And that was also the case for animation as well. Like Walt Disney, um the main like was it the Nine Old Men who like pioneered like the principles of animation and
Mm,
like were like the main drives behind like a lot of the iconic um like Disney animated films that you think about. Those were all primarily white men. And then also like well into the 70s and 80s, if you look at like graduating class
mm,
of at like CalArts or any other major art institution that existed, primarily white, primarily men.
mm,
Um, but in recent decades, especially now, there's a lot more like diversity among
mm.
the graduating classes. There's more and more diversity every single
Yeah.
year. And that excites me because it's like a lot
That's
of the
awesome.
stories, yeah. There's a lot more stories being told now
Mm.
that would have been like inconceivable in like past decades, past years.
Um, how do you approach learning something new?
Um, if you're learning something, or when I learn something new, I like I said before, like I throw things at the wall, see what sticks, and
Yeah.
I will often do like if I'm trying to emulate a way that somebody does, the way that somebody does like um somebody caricatures the way that somebody
Mm,
uses and chooses shapes. I will do like a shape breakdown of their work. Like
mm,
obviously, like it is like technically like a copy, but it's like you're not
mhm,
posting this online. So it's like the copy is for you to understand the mechanics and the
mm.
structure behind what they draw and why they draw it that way.
Uh,
And it's like in little exercises like this where it's like you don't show these to anybody, you just do them on your own
yeah.
to kind of learn how to draw.
Mm,
And then like once you get comfortable with it, you apply it to the way that you already draw. And then that's how you that's how like the gradual like I think process of mastering something usually comes.
mm. What's a question you wish people would ask themselves more often
Um when it comes to art or just like in general.
in general? Or it could be art.
Mm, I don't know. I think ooh, I don't think about this question, or I've never really thought about this question. Um, we skip.
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. Um, I wish that like I don't know if this is like a question that I would ask people, but it's like I
Mm,
wish that people wouldn't like get so hung up on first impressions or that like this is
mm,
also something that I'm working on because it's like when you have like an impression of somebody at the beginning of a school year and they actually turn out to be the exact opposite of that
mm.
impression,
Yeah.
that's like embarrassing for you. Um, it was embarrassing for me. Um, yeah. It's just like I think people like if you are around long enough, people will reveal their true colors eventually.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like this is a bad answer. Actually, I don't know.
No, it's not a bad answer. I'm glad. I'm really glad I waited for that response.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's 100% true. 100% true. How do you see your future work impacting society in the future?
I would like, um, I think the main goal for me is to end up working in feature, which
Mm,
is like big screen, like movies
yeah.
type of things. I think my art style like gears more towards that. But yeah, I just think that like with each generation of artists, there's always like a pivotal person.
Mm.
Um, not a pit. Oh, what am I saying? Hang on. Let me rethink this. Um, sorry, can you repeat the question one more time to make sure that I know what I'm
How do
trying
you
to
see
answer?
your future work impacting society in the future?
Um, maybe just to like show that like I'm I'm like I come from like my parents are Chinese, like fully Han Chinese,
Mm,
and I grew up like my dad really wanted me to like do STEM or do math
mm,
and like some like science, not science, but like some like job, like real office job that like involved like smart things. Like lawyer or doctor or like computer science person, which is like the case for like every single Asian parent out there. But it's like my mom has recently like said to me that like or I knew this already, but it's kind of like different when you hear it from your parent. It's like
mhm,
um we like the majority of the people around us don't agree or don't see your choice as a smart choice.
mm,
We have decided to ignore them and we have decided to back you on um this risk that you're taking. And um just know that like we support you
mm,
on like this like we support your endeavors and we hope like the best for we want the best for you and that's
mm,
why we like let you do art and I think that my goal is to like become like well like rooted enough in the industry to be like a not a figurehead but like something that other like young like primarily Asian or immigrant people can like not people like kids can like point to
mhm,
and be like um you know like they're like she did it like she was able to you know make a name for herself and also like have like work on movies that I really love
mm,
and so like it would like I think what I'm trying to get at is that like I think the greatest honor would be that if the art I made would inspire other people to make art of their own.
mm.
Yeah. That is yeah, I think that's my final answer. That took me way too long to like work around to. I was like spitfiring. Like my brain was
You
like
were dropping bars. You were dropping
my
bars.
my brain wheels were turning like out loud. Like it was crazy. Anyway,
No,
yeah, that's my
that's
final answer.
that's
Yeah.
everything. Because I mean, um, no, I believe you're already um a temple um in the industry. Because like I said,
Ooh.
you inspired a couple girls already in my youth ministry. And I didn't want to cut you off. I wanted you to continue spitfiring because I was gonna cut you off and mansplain your answer because, like I said, just on besides the other work, I your skill set in terms of the tools that you have in your bag, um, there's no end. Like like again, I'm not a visual artist myself, but I know art.
Mhm.
So I know I can I see what you do. I It's not that I can see what you can't know. I see what you do. And so and then like I said, the storytelling um that you did in the last short film that you shared, um if you could have seen the eyes, especially on the young ladies that I was like showing my phone like in class before classes started, and they're like, especially those that understood.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so, and what's cool is if an artist can inspire other artists. But I think what's also cool, Esther, is um, when your art inspires more appreciation of the art. Just like writers need readers,
Mhm.
right? Um, you know, I think you're
Art needs
inspiring
viewers.
another generation of viewers because you could turn people off too, you know.
Yeah.
Um, Now, for yourself, being you mentioned it, but being a little bit more greedy, what's a dream or goal you're currently working towards?
Um, well, short-term goal is getting my second year film done
Mm,
and in the open show, which is like our everyone turn like you have the like it's just like you turn in your film at the end of the year and that's what it's called.
yeah.
Getting my film done in time and also not like lingering too long on mistakes and
Mm,
issues because it's like at the end of the day it's like no one's gonna notice these mistakes but you really unless somebody has it like really has it out for you and it's like like stopping your film frame by frame going yeah this one fell out of arc this one looked like you forgot to color in this over here it's like no one's doing that like no one's doing that you are the only person who like
you are.
cares
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because you're the person who's looking at the screen and
Mm,
looking at the screen like 9 hours a day. You're the one drawing it, so obviously
mm,
you're gonna see it. So like my that's my short-term goal, getting the film done.
mm,
Have I told you what it's about?
mm. Do you want to talk about it now? Is it okay or no? We can bring you on another time. Because
I can talk about it briefly. It's like I'll just give like a brief synopsis. It's
okay.
like it's set in the it's a historical fiction film. And it is set during the Opium Wars and the decline of the kind of dynastic China as
Mm,
like was known throughout ancient history. Um, and it is about death, colonialism, and basically just about death and imperialism.
mm,
Yeah, that's all I'll say for now.
okay.
But it's something that I like I came up with my film pitch around um like before the events of October 7th occurred
Mm,
and I like
mm,
I think like afterwards it was like it kind of cemented in my mind like actually this film is like or this message is important and I
yeah,
should make a film about this because it's generally something that I really believe in.
yeah,
And it is not just because it is like relevant. I think it will always kind of be relevant
yeah,
as long as there are countries that exist on the earth.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, that's just yeah, short-term goal is that. I think long-term goal is to um have like a relatively seamless transition between school and college, or
mm,
not school and college. What am I saying? Between college and work.
mm,
Um, uh, what I really mean is probably like having like a few like jobs under my belt before I graduate, like maybe in my fourth year or my third year, because that like once like you have like a little bit of experience, once your foot is in the door, it's like easy,
yeah,
like relatively smooth sailing from there on out. It's just a matter of, getting your foot in,
yeah,
which is the case for most, I think, art related
yeah.
things.
All right, we're down to our last four questions. The
Oh, okay.
next three are existential, FYI. All right. The first one, what is depression?
Mm, well, a depression is a low point in the Earth's crust. Um, Death Valley is a depression. Sorry. Uh, as someone who doesn't have depression or
Mhm.
someone like I don't have any like um any neurological like the word is evading me right now, but it's like I'm
Mm,
neurotypical.
mm,
For me, I think from what I've seen around like people around me who have like depression or like other forms of like like is disorders the proper word? Like
well, we could just say differences.
differences. Okay.
Yeah.
Um I it gets what it is like a chemical imbalance in the brain.
Mm,
Um so like it is like a thing of like you do have to take like med like it's treatable.
mm.
It's treatable and this is actually the worst question to ask me because I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. Sorry, I swore.
It's okay.
Um, um, I think depress it like being in a depressive state is just like not being recipient or the things that usually make you happy don't make you
Mm,
as happy anymore and like
yeah,
you're just not as like stimulated.
yeah,
Um, that's probably the best answer I can give you. I'm
yeah, yeah.
not an expert on
All right, next question. What is love?
love is love is patient, love is kind, love sorry. Um I think love is like embracing something despite its flaws and like you might not know everything about it or everything about whatever you love, but it's like you love them regardless. It's like some I think for some people it's like love like when you love somebody or like when you're in love it's like you can tell everything to that person. But I think there's a lot like I think love is more powerful if it's like you trust that person enough to like sometimes not say
Mm,
everything or not tell them everything. I that might be actually bad advice. I don't know. Um, I don't know. I've never been in love, so it's just like I'm like bullshitting a little bit. So yikes. Don't get me canceled.
well, it
Um,
doesn't doesn't have to be romantic, right?
um,
I think what you described is something when you're talking about, your good friends, right? Your day ones, and so I think it applies the same.
mm, yeah, I don't know if I can say anything else about that because I think you should have sent me these questions beforehand and so I had time to brainstorm because now I look like a fool sitting here and
You're fine.
sitting here in silence for like 30 seconds at a time.
What is the meaning of life?
The meaning of life is to create.
Mm,
Um, I think not necessarily meaning, because I don't think all art necessarily needs to have meaning in order to be art.
mm,
But it's like you like the reason why humans have existed this long is
mm,
because you have like things you have passions, you have things you do as a creative outlet,
mm,
and that is prevalent in how like I said before, art has existed long before forms of writing, forms of record keeping, and all that fun jazz, like pop, like identifiable, like artifacts of history. Art is more ancient than that. And I
Mm,
think that creation is the meaning of life
mm.
in the broad sense of like humanity. But I think for each individual person, it's like that the meaning of life like changes. Because like if you're not an artist, I feel like maybe like that's not necessarily like the meaning in life or the one that fits most. I think it's that like maybe it's about like relationships. Like you're here because you are meant to cultivate relationships with people and relationships that will carry on even when you are gone.
Real deep. All right. Last but
That
not
was not deep.
least,
I'm just talking. I don't know what's going
stop the cap. You need to stop the cap. All right. Last but not least, what advice would you give to young people, high schoolers, seniors in high school?
on. I think for me, high school was very like I don't want to say like bad, but it was just like I knew that like it wasn't permanent and that like
Mm-hmm.
I think that this applies for most people, but I think that like life beyond high school and like having an identity and like being able to express yourself
Mm-hmm.
like outside of the confines of your childhood bedroom and the people you have known for the like ever since they were like teenagers like life beyond high school is your real life and you
Mm,
are just in high school right now because like like it's just you're just in preparation mode like you're in sleeper mode like
mm,
once you like grow up and get out it's like then you're fully awake. I think like there's this I like a lot of like my friends and I like joke that at a certain point in high school we like gained consciousness. And I think that time for me was like when I was like was during COVID year. I think that was like the year that I gained consciousness and like um was able to formulate like opinions of my own regarding like things that were happening around the world, but also
mm,
like opinions um because like I think at a certain point you realize like you're not going to be a kid forever. You're going to be a adult in a world, and the world that you grew up into is very much a product of what happens right now. And so that's when like you gain consciousness. It's
mm,
like, oh, I'm going to be an adult. And I need to make adult decisions and I need to like have like beliefs and
mm,
um values. You need to have values. Um, I'm going on a tangent. Okay.
mm,
But yeah, I think it's just that like if you're not flourishing in high school or like if you're not like where you want to be in high school, like don't worry because I
mm,
wasn't where I wanted to be in high school. I think like I entered high school, I was like, I need to glow up. I need like glow up in all facets of my life. And I think that happened. I think it came. Like I like look back on it now. It's like senior year me who like senior year me who like graduated is like so much different
mm,
from who I am now. And I think that's for the better.
yeah.
And you just need to be patient.
Mm,
Yeah. Some people do peak in high school, but I think that is all the more fun to drop by for 3 seconds at high school reunion and check up on them and make sure that they did in fact peak in high school and then go on carry on with your life and continue peaking beyond high school. I don't know.
You know what's scary, Esther? Seeing you in your work in high school, and that's not peak Esther, bro. And that's just sleeper mode. Whoa, that's a humble flex, Esther. That's
No,
kind of brag. You bragging a little bit too much.
no. Oh, I just think also like
Mm,
with a school like Valley Christian, it's like you not to hate on Christianity or like the
mm,
institution of Christianity, but it's like I grew up a Christian, like I grew up in a Christian household, and
mm,
so I like a lot of the like a lot of the ways I was like brought up, and the things that like I believed for like a long time were dictated by um Christianity.
mm,
And I think at a certain point, not a certain point, like during COVID year, sorry, like everything comes back to COVID year 'cause it's like the year like where time stood still and it's like the year I
mm,
gained consciousness. But it's like I think I started like taking like a good look at myself and being like, am I actually like a Christian or would I actually call myself a Christian if I weren't, born into it?
mm,
Like, do I actually believe these things? Do I actually believe um like and I think in college I like had the opportunity to kind of deconstruct my faith because it's like when you're in high school and you're attending Bible class every single week, it's like you don't have the opportunity, you know? But it's like once you're removed from that environment, it's like you have the opportunity to think about like how can I like be certain that like I am actually like this like the life of or like the way of like Christianity or whatever religion or whatever like um way that you were brought up is actually for me if I haven't experienced anything else. How do I know if that's right? That's just like the way that I thought, I think, towards the end of high school, and I was able to kind of think about, my life experiences and like also like think about
mm,
like whether or not my values align with the Christianity that I was brought up in. And
mm,
so like as a result of that, I've kind of like stepped away from faith for like as of right now. I think I still like I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. Yeah, I think this is just my like reveal, like
mm.
my my reveal that I'm not like a Christian, like
Yeah.
not really, I think. But it's like complicated, not really.
Yeah. I mean, this is part of the advice you're giving to young people in terms of reality, standing on your own 2 feet, exploring, coming out of a bubble.
Mhm.
Um, and that's part of the process of life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that like you when you grow up in an environment, like when you grow up in with a religion, it's like you don't know anything outside of that. And once you're faced with people who have different upbringings from you, it's
Yeah.
like, well, actually, like maybe the way that I was brought up, like, wasn't all too perfect in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's all I'll say for now.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying words at this point.
No, no. Um, you're putting out thoughts and experiences and realities, and that those multitudes are a small microcosm of what makes you Esther, and those multitudes, right, inspire the awesome work that you produced. Um, and artists, we don't stop thinking. That's the problem.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so thank you so much, Esther. This is good. This is good. We look forward to bring you back on, maybe
Oh,
sometime next year, see where you're
yeah,
at.
sure.
Um, I will provide links in the description. So please check out Esther's work and her up and coming work.
Hmm.
Right. And so, with that being said, Esther, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on.